It's silent, but the tension cuts through the air. It's Christmas dinner with family. And moments before the shouting begins, the doors begin to slam, or someone runs out the house crying. Sound familiar? Yeah, I know this all too well. But I also know that it doesn't have to stay this way. This is a 3-part video on navigating family triggers during Christmas and how to stay grounded and have a regulated nervous system during this challenging time. In part 1, I'll talk about why family dynamics activate our nervous system and why we regress to our old patterns in our family. In part 2, I will talk about nervous system regulation, inner child, and transgenerational trauma healing as the foundation of learning how to navigate family triggers. And in part 3, I will talk about some self-care practices you can do with embodied boundaries, communication, and changing your behavior without needing them to change. I'm Naomi Galinsky, and welcome to this channel. I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner and a therapist. I help high-functioning women reconnect with their bodies so that they get to experience physical and emotional well-being. But this channel is also here for everyone who wants to understand their human experience through the lens of nervous system, trauma, inner child work, and transgenerational patterns. Let's get started. I'm actually here in my dad's apartment, and we're about to spend Christmas. I'm actually here for 5 weeks, which is the longest I've spent with him since maybe my childhood. And I love spending time with him. I get along with him great, but it wasn't always the case. He was physically and emotionally absent while I was growing up. And throughout my 20s, I hated spending time with him. I know it's a strong word, but that's what I felt. And there was a period of, I think, 5 years that I didn't even talk to him. And it took over a decade to get to this place where I get along with him. And with these video series, I want to give you hope that change is possible, but it probably won't look the way you think it should look. So, why is it so difficult to be around family over Christmas? I'm guessing most likely that you don't live in the same hometown or near them. So you're visiting them, maybe you just get to visit them once every year or maybe even less. And there's this expectation of closeness, of harmony, of getting together and having a good time because you don't get to see them very often. But then the reality sets in. They haven't changed. They trigger the same wounds. And there's that disappointment. And it's not just them. We slip into our old patterns, our old roles. The same family alliances form and we gang up against each other, which is really painful. For example, my brother and I used to maybe not gang up, but we would judge and criticize and poke fun at my dad behind his back. And I had to realize that that was actually really hurtful behavior. But this is called triangling, basically. When I wasn't getting along with my dad because he hurt me, I would pull in my brother, get him to side with me, and then we would make fun of my dad. And these triangles happen in many different forms with siblings, with parents, with aunts and uncles. And then all of our childhood wounds, the ones that they created, being bullied by siblings, criticized by parents, or the father not being absent, the father not being there, emotionally absent, those get triggered again. And when we have unresolved childhood wounds and transgenerational trauma, that part of our nervous system is stuck in the past. So we actually regress to that age of when that happened. Like the 5-year-old that was bullied, the 7-year-old that was criticized. And our parents, the adults, the older family members, they also regress to their childhood state when that part of their nervous system gets triggered. And now you're sitting around a dinner table with basically children acting up. So this nervous system regression thing is real. And I think you have seen it in other families, in other cases, where you're like, this fighting, this behavior is childish. And it's really because we've regressed to that age, that young part that was still hurt and that wasn't met. If some of this rings true for you or it resonates, then please subscribe to my channel or hit the like button. It really helps other people find this video. As I go into video 2 and 3 about healing your nervous system, doing the trauma work, and explaining some self-care practices, I need to name something important here. Doing this healing work does not guarantee that you will have a great relationship with your family. You have to do it from a place of taking care of yourself for your own emotional and physical well-being. When you do your own trauma work, you begin to have a bit more distance to what's happening instead of being sucked into the trauma vortex and being in that automated reaction that everyone else is in as well. When you do your own healing work, what happens is that you have the ability to pause as you feel that trigger rising up. And in that moment, you have choice to do something different and to take care of yourself. And your family members might not have the capacity to reflect, to change their behavior, or even to understand you. And that's the hard part, but it doesn't matter. You do it for yourself regardless, because it will affect your physical well-being as well as your emotional. You won't be quite as triggered. So you might not end up crying at the end of the night. You might not end up shouting or shutting down or running away, fight, flight, freeze, whatever your go-to reaction is. Your immune system will continue functioning because your sleep is better, your digestion still works, so you won't get physically sick. That's one thing that used to happen to me, get physically sick when I spent time with family over Christmas. And what changes in the end is your experience of your family, not necessarily your family yourself. But I also want to say that sometimes and often when we do our own work, there's a ripple effect onto our family members and the people around us. But we can't control what that effect is going to be, what changes are going to happen. You just have to let that happen. So going on to video 2 and 3, focus on yourself. In summary, in this video, I talked about why we get triggered with family over Christmas, how we're all, not just us, but them as well, we all regress to our childhood when those woundings happened. So we're essentially sitting around the dinner table with children fighting. And in part 2, we will dive into the nervous system regulation, inner child wound, transgenerational trauma healing piece, which is key and foundational to all of this healing work, on top of which we can layer the things that I'll talk about in video 3. And if you're curious about working with me, then check out the resources in the description below. And don't forget to hit the like or subscribe button or leave a comment. I love hearing from you and starting a conversation.